Good morning, friends. Welcome to our Friday morning get-together. Mickelson here with you. What we're going to do here today is, we're going to be talking about what we've been reporting all morning long. The Iowa Supreme Court earlier unanimously upheld the gay right to marry here in the state of Iowa. Congressman Steve King, you just probably heard that news for your first time yourself, sir. What is your response to this most recent Supreme Court ruling?
Well, Jan, I can't think of a more activist decision that has been made by this Iowa Supreme Court. And I was involved in writing that law when I was in the state Senate. I think we did that in '97. And it's clear that the people of Iowa have spoken. And they have said that marriage is between a man and a woman. That's the Defense of Marriage Act that is in our state statutes that mirrors the one at the federal level. And Judge Robert B. Hanson's decision was clearly an outrageous activist decision. I read every word of that multiple times, actually. It was every left-wing activist argument I had ever heard, all crammed into one decision. And now I'm told this is a unanimous decision of the Iowa Supreme Court.
Yes.
It turns immediately Iowa into the Mecca for same-sex marriages, the destination state. There will be weekend packages that are being planned right now. We'll be the Las Vegas of same-sex marriage for America if the legislature doesn't act now. The
legislature is already on the record. At least the co-governor Gronstal said that it's not likely that they're going to change the rules in order to reopen a debate on this late in the session because they are busy rewriting the Iowa tax code, and they can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
Jan, everybody in Iowa knows that's baloney. This is too important to say we're too busy, and it needs to be done now. We've gone for the history of Iowa without having double taxation on our income. And for him to posture himself that we can't go another day without that, but Iowa can be a destination state for same-sex marriage, when the legislation they need to pass, and they can't pass a constitutional amendment fast enough to solve this problem, but they can require residency for marriage in Iowa, and they should do so immediately. They should draft it today. They should move it through both chambers and put it on Governor Culver's desk right now before the planes start landing in Des Moines. So I don't think Mike Gronstal can hide. I don't think Culver can hide. And I don't think Murphy can hide. It's time now for Iowans to understand that they have been gamed all of this time, and it's time for that legislation to move on a residency requirement. I mean, it needs to be initiated today, and if they don't do that, we'll all know that there are more proponents of same-sex marriage in the Democrats in our state legislature and our governor than there are in California, which rejected it in the last referendum.
Well, the Democrats had it in their agenda, proposing gay marriage and civil unions. The Democratic Party accepted thousands of dollars from the gay lobby. They have run, not so much on these issues, but they solicited help. Their base is the gay lobby and the abortion lobby. Those are the two-thirds of their political base. And they have delivered for their political base. Now, again, I'm just wondering what the next tactic can be if you've got the Democrats who hold both houses and you've got the governor who's already tacitly approved of what the court has just done. What is reasonable to expect?
I think that we can expect that Iowans do care about this. And they're going to look at each of their state representatives, each of their state senators. They're going to look at their governor, and they're going to draw a new judgment. I have good neighbors that are Democrats that absolutely reject this, and they are not, I don't think, any longer going to stick with voting a party line vote because they think that now they understand that their party has left them. I think we're going to see perhaps that entire turnover of power here in this state. This will be a central issue, Dan. And Iowans have to understand that they need to let these legislators know. By the way, these legislators like their jobs. They like to keep them. And they have to understand that if they're going to support same-sex marriage in an activist fashion here in Iowa, then they have a chance to do something about it, that their jobs aren't going to be that secure. Well, I don't believe.
Yeah. The courts have just redefined marriage. It had taken it one step past the already weakening of the institution here in the state of Iowa when the legislature granted no-fault divorce a long time ago. This is the last nail in the coffin of the institution here in the state if they can redefine marriage this way, the term won't have any meaning whatsoever. If two people of the same gender can legally mate, and that is going to be a civil right granted by the state of Iowa, the term doesn't mean anything anymore except as a device to get into the back pockets of the taxpayers.
Well, it makes me reflect upon what Rick Santorum said some years ago. If you have a civil right to same-sex marriage, then you have a civil right to most any kind of behavior, and that would include group marriage. That would include, what would be the objection to marriage with including incest? I mean, I've had this debate with Barney Frank out here, and most won't have this engaging debate with him. We got into it a little ways last night on an exchange on the floor. And he's argued to me, and in the congressional record, that it's two consenting adults. And we just want to allow two consenting adults. I said, well, what about two brothers, two sisters? How about a mother and a son? Tell me where you draw the moral line here. And, of course, they can't do that and won't do that because that exposes the flaw in their rationale. Once you start down this path, it's a path you can't get back from. We grant a marriage license in Iowa, not to discriminate against anyone. It's to promote marriage as it has always been, marriage as it needs to be, because that's the best way we perpetuate our civilization and our culture. It's an active thing, a proactive thing to grant a marriage license, and because the state has a vested interest in growing a society that can sustain itself. It's not discriminating against anybody, Jan.
What do you think about the idea that the political class and the legislature and the governor is perfectly happy allowing the courts to do their job for them? And because this court has spoken here, in your political theory, is the court decision here superior to the legislature? Is it superior to the vote of the people? And is it superior to the governor's jurisdiction?
I reject this Iowa Supreme Court decision. I don't believe that the court is superior. The court, at best, on their best day, is co-equal. They were envisioned by the founders. The judicial branch was to be the weakest, actually, of the three branches of government. We all take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Iowa when you're in a state office. I've done so a number of times, and so have the people that are hiding behind the court decision today. We have an accountability to understand the Constitution. I can't take an oath to it to uphold what the Supreme Court would amend it to be. I can respect court decisions that are soundly based, and we all should. We need their guidance. But this one's clearly activism. And when you look at the strife and the conflict that's gone on endlessly in this country, it's almost always an issue that can't be resolved is almost always rooted in a bad court decision when the courts took the decision out of the hands of the people. That's exactly what happened here today.
Well, this is a case of legislating from the bench. They've created a special class. They've granted it equal rights and now have extended to the class that they've just invented a marriage contract, the potential for a marriage contract for two people of the same gender. In previous times, this would have been seen as just biological absurdity, let alone social devastation.
Well, it is, and for Governor Culver to set up his activism so that we have people that fit the right categories working for the state, if I'm going to apply for a job and somebody's going to ask me what I do in the privacy of my home, I'm going to tell them it's none of their business. I don't want to label myself as any kind of sexual. That's a private kind of a thing. And yet, he has apparently a category that you have to fill out in the job application form so they can get their idea of the perfect blend of people's personal sexual activities represented in the job place, as if, that just says that what you do in your private life reflects on your work, or he wouldn't set up a formula like that.